Interesting. The tomb right next to this one is undamaged. I won't get inside without the key, and so far I do not plan to. I can't see anything. So far, everything is quiet. There isn't enough light. I can't read anything. There isn't enough light. Better to be safe than sorry. I poured everything out. Paraffin oil would be better, but I don't see any reason why it shouldn't work. Strange. It's as if it was still waiting for its owner. Why would they put an empty coffin here? Maybe I just don't understand local customs. Every detail. Strange. I've never seen an empty coffin in a tomb before. Father Mulcahy might know more about that. Odd. The tomb seems to be for male family members only. But none of them lived to reach the age of 40. Now, this is better. The oldest deceased was Abraham Lewis, died at the age of 38. What could it be? I can't grasp it properly. The crevice is too narrow. Well, I expected a coin. This won't be of any substantial value. I'm no expert, but it cannot be recognized by the naked eye. No scratches, a perfect cut, and a very specific refraction of light. It takes my breath away. This must be a real diamond. The damaged tomb. Does it belong to a significant family?
Significant? Not significant. Rather cursed.
Excuse me. What do you mean?
Exactly what I am saying. The Lewis family, one of the oldest families in the whole town, was once highly respected. But when Sir William was born, the last heir, it seemed God turned away from them. And if not God, the townspeople certainly did. Nobody could bear to look at his lifeless face. Even yesterday, at the funeral, the coffin was kept closed during the whole ceremony. The night's events are the punishment for our weakness. That's simply the way it is.
Wait a minute. I need to make this clear. The damaged tomb belongs to the deceased's family. The one whose funeral was held just yesterday.
Precisely. We placed Sir William Lewis's lifeless body in his tomb in the dead of night. And this morning that same tomb was desecrated.
Father Mulcahy, can you be discreet?
I am a priest.
I was inside the tomb, despite your request not to.
Why are you telling this to me? You will confess to God, not to me.
The coffin is empty.
What? It's not possible.
Please, stay calm.
Dear Lord, but that would surely mean... Are you sure? You opened the coffin?
It was open when I stepped in.
But what shall we do now?
For now, keep it to yourself.
You can count on that. Do you realize what a scandal this is?
Leave it to us. We will solve it. It's becoming pretty complicated. I have to find out as much about the deceased as I can. Is it true, what's said about Sir William?
You mean that Sir William was a beast and a monster? Yes, that is true.
I must confess that I don't know what to think.
Who of us is able to understand God's intention? But I am sure it was not God's will that he came into this world.
What do you mean?
When he was born, it was as if he wasn't one of God's creations. He had a totally lifeless face, and those eyes. Understand me, it is not easy to talk about it.
I understand. Tell me, how did his family cope with it?
It was very difficult, especially for his mother. She just could not bear it, and eventually the strain was such that she took her own life. We had to bury her on the Gallows Hill.
Where is it?
It is a place forgotten by God, a cemetery for suicides.
And what about his father?
He disappeared the night when all the servants left the mansion. And then only William remained with Lady Miriam, his grandmother.
All this just because he had a disfigured face?
No, of course not. When he grew older, strange stories began to be told about him. Once, it was a dead cat in his arms. Once, he was found sitting next to a dead horse. And whenever a maid disappeared, you can easily guess whose work it was said to have been. At that time, his father was still alive and kept the estate together, but that was not to last. The servants revolted, set the house on fire, and fled. His father vanished, and only ruins remained. A sad and tragic story.
I'd like to know more.
You must excuse me, Detective, but there is nothing more to say.
The coffin was closed during the whole funeral, is that right?
Yes.
By whose request?
Lady Miriam, the grandmother of the deceased, wished it so.
That's suspicious, don't you think?
I can't understand why.
I think it might have already been empty before the funeral. Perhaps it was Lady Miriam's last attempt to protect her grandson. Everybody hates him. It almost destroyed the family. If he disappeared, he would soon be forgotten about. Lady Miriam might have faked his death in the hope that is what would happen.
I am sorry, but this seems rather far-fetched to me. The absolute isolation and the permanent fear of discovery would be worse than a prison sentence.
You're right, but people sometimes do desperate things when they have no other choice. It's possible that those delinquents tried to break into the church. Perhaps the gravedigger tried to stop them, and so they killed him.
But what do the destruction of the tomb and disappearance of the body have to do with it?
It can be a provocation, or a camouflage. They try to put us off the scent.
I cannot believe it.
We're at the very beginning of the investigation. It's my duty to examine every possibility.
If I can help with anything, I am at your service.
In that case, I would like to ask you to check the church inventory, just in case something is missing.
Yes, that is a good idea. At least I can make myself useful.
If you find something out and I'm not here anymore, send a message to the station.
You can rely on me, Detective. God bless you.
The piece of cloth doesn't quite the contrary. He defended it could prove to be important. Sir William was buried just yesterday evening. Was his coffin empty after only a couple of hours? The question that comes to my mind is whether he was really in it. The journalist finally gave up, but there's still a strange feeling in my stomach. I see Mr. Forrest gave up.
Well, sir, I would think so, only if I didn't know him.
What do you mean?
It wouldn't be in his character to leave so easily, sir.
What else could he do, in your opinion, if you know him so well?
I didn't worry as long as I had him in my sight, but now he might have found another way in. I can watch over the main gate, but the cemetery is too large. I would just like to remind you, sir, that I wanted to go to the station for support.
Thank you for the reminder, but don't worry about that. As for the journalist, he surely realized that it's useless.
If you think so, sir. You are the detective.
There's just something about it. It's really dubious that he would give up so easily. Blasted gravedigger.